Next on our list of most important Nebraska football players, a kicker we discuss.
You are Locked On Nebraska, your daily Nebraska Cornhuskers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning, and thank you for making Locked On Nebraska your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply.
All right, good morning and welcome in a Tuesday edition here of the Locked On Nebraska podcast. Connor Happer with you, Mitch Sherman here as well. We began a list. We love to do countdowns and lists, countdowns to camp.
People love it.
And it's very unique, like we said yesterday. So we're going to continue on that list today by trying to get you down to the bottom to the number one eventually of the players most important to Nebraska's success. I don't know if there's like an acronym that we could do on that, but I like it. I think I think we should make it longer. Players more important to Nebraska's success.
I'll try to come up with something that's like that takes about 30 seconds to say.
Yeah.
Get Matt Rule's name in there.
Yeah, that could be fun. In year 2 under Matt Rule, we just include that in the entire title. So yesterday we brought you Javen Wright, who, I mean, a lot of this is based off of depth, what you have behind you, like imagining a world where that person is not there anymore, and then you can get a real indicator for how important they are.
It's like their war. It's their wins above replacement. That's what we're talking about here.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And so this will be an interesting discussion as we bring you number 9 today. We on our list, which we have compiled, Tristan Alvano is going to be number 9 on our list. And man, he's had an interesting last 18 months. And now he goes into a situation where he is the incumbent at kicker for Nebraska, but maybe has some competition. He made 9 out of 15 kicks last year. He missed some easy ones. He made a couple difficult ones. He's got competition in the room now. I'm curious at just like really just thinking about Tristan Alvano and the job that he has this year, its importance first of all, but the level of success that he could potentially have.
So I think the reason that people are this is such an interesting topic, and when the position of kicker comes up in discussions around Nebraska football, there's a lot of hand wringing. The main reason I think is because we've only seen him once in the last 7-8 months, and that was at the spring game when he missed from 32 and 43 in the first half. And it wasn't just that he missed from 32 and 43. It was, hey, Dylan Raiola or Danny Kalin, I think in one case, these true freshman quarterbacks are out there. They're out there balling and they're doing their thing and leading the offense. And this is what Nebraska football is going to look like moving ahead. And then he came out and they got nothing out of the drives because he missed a couple of short field goals. In one case, a chip shot. So that led to some consternation, I suppose.
Sure.
And
it maybe makes it even worse, or it's certainly more visible when your offense is actually doing something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like last year, I feel like a big part of him missing was the fact that they needed him so much, and then it kind of exploded. Now, obviously, they'll still need him, and Nebraska will still be a team that kicks field goals, but it's maybe the pressure is a little bit lower, and that could help him. I don't know. I'm kind of just spitballing on that one.
He made a 40-yarder in the second half of the spring game, but by that time they'd kind of shut things down, and Raiola was on the bench for the most of the second half, and the excitement was out of the building. So, and maybe that's part of the reason that Alvano made it. If he's got an issue with kicking in pressure situations, which he certainly doesn't seem like he does. This is a guy who made a 50-plus yarder to win a state championship on that same field, and he hit a 55-yarder. You remember the Nebraska freshman record in the Purdue game. So he's got the leg. He's shown that he can do it in the pressure moments, But that all needs to come together now here. And it didn't come together for him in the spring game, which is silly because that's a scrimmage. But it's, again, the one example that fans and media have of seeing him since the season ended on Black Friday. So what's it going to be in 2024? Is it going to be this sophomore kicker who's improved and advanced and moved up on his performance as a true freshman, which was fine, was serviceable, was very good at times, inconsistent, but we don't know because we just saw that spring game where things looked a little bit awry, and then Nebraska went out and added not just a recruit, a 2024 freshman in Nico Automanelli, but the Huskers also added a kicker, John Hole, as a JUCO transfer here late in the process. He's a Lincoln Southwest grad who was headed to Coastal Carolina and came instead from Iowa Western, where he redshirted last year to provide some depth for Nebraska. But obviously, Alvano is the plan. He's the guy that they want to use, and that's why he's important in this spot. Because if they end up turning to another guy, then that's really a crapshoot.
To your point about kicking in the spring game, that's probably, I guess, kicker is probably the position where you can, I don't know, you can kind of take that stuff seriously, right? Like the conditions are going to be what the conditions are. It's windy in April, just like it is in October. It's the same. Yeah, right. The conditions are the same, and he's still got people coming at him. So I don't know, like you could throw that into the equation. You're right. It's a long time to sort of sit on a bad performance, and I think that's kind of a lot of what we're dealing with here. But there's no doubt that there's a little bit of pressure behind him. I don't know why I feel this way, Mitch, but like I feel like he's gonna be okay. And I don't know that I would say, like, I don't know that I feel that way about all kickers. It's just kind of a gut thing. I remember the year that Connor Culp made all of his field goals and won like Big Ten kicker of the year. I thought going into that offseason, I was like, I don't know about this. This doesn't feel right to me. And
totally agree.
The next year it wasn't good for him. I feel the opposite with Alvano. I'm not sure why.
Well, Culp had like that strange up and down history coming from LSU, and Tristan's been nothing but successful through his career. And I think, career, like he was a high school kicker. He was he was maybe the best high school kicker ever to come out of the state of Nebraska, or did it on a stage unlike any kicker that we've ever seen. Beating Gretna on that walk-off, in an epic championship game a couple years ago. So people have seen that, and I think we know that's what he's got in him. And it's a matter of just finding the consistency, and you can wash away a bad day in the spring game. It's fine. He may have a bad day in October too and still be a very good, effective kicker. Although, you got to minimize those. You can't have too many of those in the fall season. So get rid of them, get them out of your system in the spring. And, I've talked to Ed Foley, Nebraska's special teams coordinator, some also about Alvano and just how moving him into that job as a true freshman, it didn't, they didn't get to ease him in, and he struggled some with the like repetitive motion. Like it's almost like a pitcher in baseball where you've got to be able to repeat your delivery, and it's just such an essential part of your success in being able to throw strikes. Well, kickers has to be able to have his footwork down so it's exactly the same every time. And as an 18, 19-year-old, Alvano was not where he needed to be in that area. And he's worked with Chris Brown, who has connections to Omaha West Side, has had kids go through and going through that school and has been around that football program. So in Tristan's time as a kicker at West Side and as he's got to Nebraska, and Chris is, of course, a former great kicker at Nebraska and in the NFL. He's worked with Tristan on some of that. I'm with you. I think it's going to work out. I think he's going to be okay. I don't think they're going to have to, go to Nico Automanelli or John Hole in some kind of a crazy change mid-season. I think it'll work out. But it's a position worth watching, and it's an important one too because of the expected number of close games that Nebraska is going to play in 2024.
Quickly before we talk NIL, speaking of that, you led right into it. How short do you think the leash is? Like, or is that even a question that we should be asking?
Well, that depends on how the other guys look in practice. If they're on his heels and then he misses a 40-yarder that was really important, somebody else is going to get a shot. But he might be quite a bit ahead, and then he'll have some more leash.
All right, number 8. Tomorrow when we do this, we still got some big names out there, guys that are most important to Nebraska's success in 2024. We'll take a quick time out here, talk some NIL on the other side, but a reminder to please subscribe, follow on Twitter at LockedOnNEB. You could also email us topic ideas, things that you want to hear us talk about, questions to the show, sponsorship. If you guys, are a local business owner or know somebody who would be interested in having some advertising, please hit us up, LockedOnNEB@gmail.com. We'll be back after this.
Passion, drive, and patience, that's the winning formula for winning championships, and it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, they've got all that and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die. You will always find exactly what you're looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit, available only to U.S. customers. Okay, here we go. Segment number 2 on a Tuesday. You've found us at the Locked On Nebraska pod. I'm Mitch Sherman. Connor Happer is with me. Connor, a development from last week that we didn't discuss in depth. I guess it kind of took some time to get a handle on exactly what this does. And I think moving forward, we're going to continue to monitor this and compare Nebraska to other programs in the Big Ten and nationally. But the university named the 1890 initiative as its official collective, like the official designation. Now, 1890, as we know, has been acting in this capacity for a couple of years. It works directly with the school to secure deals with athletes to pay them. Officially, they're paying them for their NIL rights. Unofficially, as we see around college sports, they're paying them to wear the Nebraska uniform. So this new arrangement allows 1890 to act even more in a direct way with the athletes, or in a direct way with the university, I suppose is a better way to put it. It lets donors make gifts to 1890 as they would to the athletic department's development office. So you can receive priority points with Nebraska. That is a benefit to get access to tickets and other perks, or you can get a tax donation. A tax write-off. It certainly adds to the legitimacy, I would say, of the collective. It might sway some donors who were previously on the fence to go ahead and support 1890. So I think the question is, why is Nebraska among the first, or maybe the first major school to act in this way, where you have this official designation? Any thoughts there? And then, I can share some of my own.
Well, I would say this, that they seem to be, on the forefront of this NIL thing. And I think people have misconstrued that over the last couple of years of like, they're the best at it. I don't know that Nebraska has the best NIL situation, but man, they really know how to push the envelope forward, I think. And Nebraska was one of the first to kind of, put together a collective like this, to have branding for athletes and stuff like that. Remember that from a few years ago. And now this is going to start a trend from around the country where, donors all around the country of various programs are being tasked with the question of like, do I donate to the school, which I've always been doing, forever and ever, and continue to get those priority points and increase your standing with the school and in the football program. But what do I do for the lifeblood of it? How do the athletes get there? And so is there enough money to donate to both? And this just basically streamlines it. So it's an incredible move, I think, but it obviously works out in Nebraska's favor, and they're the first to do it. They continue to kind of be on the forefront of this thing.
Yeah, part of the reason that Nebraska's been ahead of the game with NIL, and is because Open Doors is like right down the street, and Open Doors was like the pioneer in NIL. And this is Blake Lawrence and Adi Kunalik's company that started in Lincoln. Blake has moved on. He lives in New York, and runs his thing. He hasn't moved on from Open Doors. He's running it in New York because they work with the NBA and Major League Baseball and the NFL and have a global presence. But it's based right back there in Lincoln, a few blocks from Memorial Stadium. So they've helped Nebraska with their advice, with their official involvement, be progressive in all things related to NIL. And this is an extension of that, I would say. It takes a lot of cooperation and alignment and organization to be able to pull something off where you have this collective that's officially integrated into your athletic department before others have done it. Before, I think one thing that revenue sharing, which is coming in college sports, is going to allow is for there to become more focus about what the collective does, and is the collective may act as like some kind of like a marketing agency for the student athletes. And that would be more in line with what their original purpose was.
Right. Yeah.
And they can just be that. They're not, I don't think they're going to set up shop at Memorial Stadium or the new football complex and have their offices out of there. It's always going to need to be this outside entity. But as much as you can funnel them together and like have that official line between the two organizations, the smoother the process is for everybody. So, there is. Trev Alberts, I think, was resistant to some of this, and Troy Dannon has been way more aggressive in pushing the line. He'll come out in an 1890 hat. Yeah, right. That they both understand the importance of it, but one question you have to ask is when you have this like consolidation of power and influence. How does that potentially affect the athletes and the administrators? And the Pede family, they largely support 1890. They pay the salaries and the overhead, and of course contribute to the bottom line that goes to compensate athletes. So if you're Troy Dannon, the Nebraska athletic director, you don't want to have to pick up the phone and ask Tom and Sean Pede about important decisions that you're going to have to make. They don't. Right. This is not like a Jerry Jones situation or even like a T. Boone Pickens situation at Oklahoma State, or at least you. I think as an observer or fan of Nebraska sports, you hope it doesn't get to that. But the reality is, the more influence that they accumulate in Nebraska's bid to stockpile talent, the more Nebraska is potentially beholden to whatever their wishes might be.
Doesn't it theoretically help in that to not get that situation that they are kind of in-house and they work under the same umbrella, at least theoretically, not physically, but theoretically kind of closer with each other? There's still always going to be, a give and take as far as that's concerned. But I mean, now that they're all kind of under the same roof, and as you mentioned, there seems to be a huge embrace from Nebraska and the athletic director in particular. You would think, at least as of right now, that that's not necessarily on the table as far as being an issue.
Yeah, I think just the more you give to 1890, the more power that 1890 accumulates, the potential for some kind of a conflict exists. But a lot of that is going to, for better or worse, like it's. If you have the choice between having a collective that exerts influence and a collective that is clearly defined for what it's able to do and its connection to the university, that is much better than the alternative. I will say that. And I think with where we're headed, again, getting back to revenue sharing and the $20 million that's going to come out of the athletic department's budget annually as soon as 2025, then that takes away whatever concern, or certainly a lot of whatever concern there might be about 1890 and exerting more influence than it should in a healthy situation. The university ultimately should pay the student athletes, if you want to get real and make
That's where we're
this
going.
right, make this what it is, which is like professional sports. So I don't think it's sustainable, and I don't believe that people in college sports think it's sustainable over the long term. Like, let's say a decade down the road, to continue to ask your collective through the help of donors to pay the salaries of the football team. So that's going to
Now,
come in house.
with that being said, though, Mitch, like NIL is still going to be a thing,
It is.
even when it goes in house.
It is, and there's still going to be big numbers being thrown around.
Yeah.
It's not going to all of a sudden go back to getting $50 for, touting a sandwich shop. Those days are gone. But
I was so naive at the beginning of this. I was like, "Oh, this is great. They could have their YouTube channels and they could get paid or whatever." I'm like, "Yeah, that went away in the first probably 15 hours of the thing."
it went away, and it's not coming back, even with
Yeah.
revenue sharing. So it'll be something that's really interesting to watch. And I think when that change is made, we'll really keep an eye on what's going on with the collectives. And Troy Dannon has just as recently as April said, yeah, I don't think the collectives are going to be a thing. And now it's with the House settlement and the terms that are being worked out, it's like, obviously, yes, the collectives are going to be a thing.
Yeah.
And not only are they a thing, they're a bigger thing and more a part of what we do as an athletic department. So that's why you see Nebraska make an announcement like it did last week. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead. Coming back on the other side, we turned back the clock yesterday, 11 years, and played video games. So whatever you were 11 years ago is what you got to be last night and going forward. So we'll talk about that coming back. But first, a reminder that if you're watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV and you have to turn down the volume with all the shouting, make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today delivers can't-miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or on the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. That's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, yesterday, Mitch, from 3 o'clock to midnight, I played a video game. I am a 32-year-old man, and I sat on my couch in my basement, and I played a video game while watching Bobby Witt Jr. get second place at the home run derby on my
Gosh,
on my
you just
laptop.
missed it.
I was in front of a lot of screens yesterday for a long period of time, and it was great. It was a lot of fun. It's different than Madden. The new video game is out. It'll fully be released on Thursday or Friday this week. But the early release people got it yesterday, and of course I paid an extra $30 to get it 3 days early. What do you kidding?
I was going to ask how you did that, because I'm just so in the dark on everything. Like, I'm paying attention to the coverage. I'm trying to pay attention. I'm not 100 years old, but I wasn't playing obsessively college football 2014 when this thing went away. Thanks, Sam Keller. Was he involved in that? Yeah, he was.
He definitely was.
Yeah. I had little kids then, and other people have little kids now and think that they're going to play this thing for 10 hours a day. And it's not going to happen. Yeah. I could play it now. My kids are 13 and 17. They want to play it. My 13-year-old, I would need to upgrade his console and pay $500 for him to get the new PlayStation or the upgrade. He's got a good Xbox and he plays it too much as it is. So I don't know. I'm a terrible dad. I'm not. He's not gonna have it. I'll probably break down at some point, or like a grandparent will get him the console that he needs. But right now, if he wants to play it, he can go over to a friend's house. How's that?
That works. Whatever works for it. But you do know, as you just said, you're gonna have to buy it at some point for your kid. Like, that's just gonna happen. So get ready for that.
Yeah. So how is it? Is it all it was cracked up to be? I was on I was on your station, 1620 The Zone in Omaha, listen to Counter from 10 to 2. I was on with John and Josh in my normal Monday, 3:50, 10 minutes, and they were watching Jack Mitchell's Twitch stream of playing Nebraska versus UTEP, and like it's melting down. Like the Huskers, I don't know if they eventually won in Jack's game or what happened, but Dylan Raiola was getting pounded. UTEP scored to open the game, and then while I was answering a question, they hit a bomb. Jack hit a bomb to Jalen Lloyd, and he fumbled like 10 yards backwards at the goal line.
He
So
pitched it.
did this happen? Did this happen when you played?
It did not, because I didn't inexplicably press the pitch button when I was at the 1 yard line. The Nebraska stuff was cool though. I mean, this is the first game where they've had the East Stadium expansion on like in video game form. So that was cool. It was cool to say. All the fans were, or a lot of the fans anywhere, were wearing white, and that was sort of visually odd. I noticed that Gabe Ervin isn't on the game. Maybe he just opted out. But they basically like subbed him out with a generic player. You know how Barry Bonds used to do that on all the video games.
Yeah.
They'd name him like John Dowd or something like that. That's what they did to Gabe Ervin. So that's basically Nebraska's starting running back. He's just a random guy.
Oh man, you got to get you need to get Emmett Johnson in there. Can you just? I would not. Yeah. I couldn't play it with the random guy.
Emmett, Ramir, Dowdell. They're all in there. Just not Gabe Ervin. I forget the guy who's the stand-in for Gabe Ervin's name, but he's not on there. Everything else looked good. There was a couple ratings snubs. I think like Ty Robinson was in the 70s or something like that. I'm like, okay. I don't know about that. But man, it was cool to see this thing come to life. And they the announcers, they have a couple different announcing crews that do it, and they say some of the names. They said Raiola, even though they pronounced it incorrectly, but they said Raiola.
How do they pronounce it?
They said Raiola. I'm a Raiola guy. It's Raiola, right?
Well, yeah.
If I'm wrong, you tell me.
No, I'm not. I'm confused because it's been said both ways.
Definitely has.
Yeah, it's been said both ways, like by the family. But I think it's got to be Raiola. It's Raiola. That's the Hawaiian pronunciation, and we need to stick with that.
I always referred to Dominic Raiola. That's just how I always said it. And now when this came back up, people started calling him Dylan Raiola, and I got confused.
Yeah, it's got to be Raiola. I mean, if he wants to call himself Raiola, then we'll follow suit. But it's in recent times, it's only been Raiola.
I agree. So it was great. I probably won't play for like 9 straight hours tonight, but because
yes, you will. Yeah.
No, but like you said though, I have a life. I have to do some other things, and the All-Star game's on now. I can always watch that in the background, but like I think my grass is getting a little bit long, and I got to do some other stuff. How's
your setup? Like, I mean, I'm sure in 2014 when you played, you had it like on your living room TV. There was no care given to like what room you were playing in. Yeah. How is it now? Now that you're a responsible married man,
shop wherever I wanted to. No, I gotta. The basement is kind of my area, and so I just basically commandeer the entire basement, and we set up that way. The only thing missing from when I would have played this game 11 years ago would have been the ginormous amounts of Mountain Dew, which I do not have next to me in a tiny mini fridge anymore, which is what I would have had when I was like in college. So
recreate that. I want to recreate that and let me know on the pod how that goes with your wife. I
mean, at the store buying multiple 12 packs of Mountain Dew to put in his mini fridge.
I could really make things great for my 13-year-old too. Like I'm in my basement right now, and I'm looking at a projection screen, which this thing didn't exist. The technology didn't exist. It's 120 inches, and it takes up a huge wall in my basement. Like I could put it on there for him to play, but I don't. He's already no. It's there's too much already.
Soon enough, the kids. I don't know if they'll learn this or not, because everybody's so connected now. You could play online, and and whatever, and host dynasties, and you don't even have to know each other. But what we would always do, and this is probably before 11 years ago, this is, I guess at least a little before that, we would all go to somebody's house and play a tournament against each other. So there'd be, 8 people there. Only 2 people would be playing at once, and the other 6 people would be trying to distract them or taunt them or whatever it might be. It sounds like you have a really good setup for that, but I wonder if the kids will ever, adapt to what we did back, 10, 15 years ago.
No, because now the technology is too good with like FaceTime and all of that. And so they play like, and he plays NBA 2K or Madden, or Fortnite or whatever. And he lays in his bed and plays, but he has his phone, propped up on a pillow, and his friends are on this so they can talk to each other. Like they're in the same room, but they're not. They're at each other. They're at their own houses, and they're communicating with each other over FaceTime or whatever he's using. I don't know.
Amazing. Things have changed, man. So
it's way more fun if you would do it. If he would have, like, he might be upstairs and can hear me, so I'm not going to say it. But if he would have, like, just a get together, like, and have like five guys, I can't believe I'm saying this, like 4 or 5 of his friends over, and they would sit around in the basement and actually play and communicate with each other and talk to each other, and maybe only play for like 5 hours instead of 20 hours, then that would
you'd be good with that.
It'd increase the likelihood of me buying the console.
Pride. You'd say, wow, thank you. You did a great job. All right. Well, updates to follow here. Maybe I'll make a run to the store and grab some Mountain Dew for old time's sake, but I'm afraid that it would give me a significant headache. That's
all right. Let me know if it overtakes the All-Star game tonight and you get obsessed and go down a college football dark place. But I'll be interested to hear the next time we get together. So we'll be back on Wednesday to continue our countdown of the most important Nebraska football players to the Huskers' success in year 2 under Matt Rule. First, want to let you know that Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and it's now available on the Amazon Fire TV app in the free Fire TV channels app. Yes, 2 apps. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today, now available on the free Fire TV channels app.